Okay. Let me find the questions.
Do we need to go around and say who we are?
Yeah, go ahead. You guys
Okay.
can start.
Hi, I'm Karen Waite.
I'm Carrie Hunt.
And I'm Kelly Martin. This is our using research discussion. Okay. Sorry, my computer's... Okay. So let's start with talking about the evaluating research article. So what do you think it means that all people are entitled to their own opinions but not their own facts?
Well, because their own facts are going to be not necessarily accurate or true. It's their
Right.
own opinion, right?
I think facts are facts.
You have to be able to have something to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so many things that just are commonly believed or old wives' tale that people really do just really take it for truth. And it's not, they don't really evaluate whether it's based on anything true. Like, we all do it. We all have our little things, but when you are a professional or when you're writing a research paper, if it's your opinion, you have to say that it's your opinion. And if it's some fact, you've just got to have a source or something to back that up.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I think one thing I found when doing the discussion board is a lot of people take facts and they kind of can turn them their own way, like whichever way they want them to go. And I think that happens a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
They construe them their own way. So why can statements that begin with "I've heard" or "you know they say" be so dangerous when articulating your point?
It's funny. I was even just when we were watching the interviews that were in the Common Core video, oftentimes, and then it was fine because it probably wasn't the setting for them to say specifically who said it, but they said the research shows or something like that, or after 100 years of experience, it's been proven. But I mean, I guess there could be footnotes at the end of the thing, and most people in their mind, unless they're writing a paper, don't have such and such said in 1995. Like, I don't know who has that kind of brain,
Right.
But so it is important to when you're trying to articulate an important point, whether in writing, of course, it's much easier than in speaking. But if you have a prepared message when you're speaking or teaching, then to have who it was that did the research or who it was that said that and why they're a valid person to even be quoting. I mean, we do it all the time in the church, like when you're speaking or teaching, then to have who it was that did the research or who it was that said that and why they're a valid person to even be quoting. I mean, we do it all the time in the church, like when you're speaking or teaching, then to have who it was that did the research. What is happening? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
What is going on? I don't want to hear my voice.
And it's just coming through your computer.
Okay, let me turn off and go back in, okay?
Okay. Oh, so weird. I'm like, is she listening to the TV or something?
I know.
Oh, man. Those statements, like I've heard, I say that all the time.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And, everybody does. It's like,
yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I think I figured out why I was doing that, so.
Okay.
I had opened up 2 windows because I tried to sign on and then it wasn't working, and that one was still open. So it was hearing me twice. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what I was saying, but it was really annoying to hear my voice like that twice. So.
That's awesome. Anyone else, or want me to move on to the next question?
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's just whenever you say I've heard, it's like you have nothing to back that up. I mean,
Right.
it's just hearsay, right? It's just.
Oh, I do have something funny to add to that, though. That's just, I have 6 children, and like 4 of them are teenagers pretty much right now, from 12 to 17. But since I've been taking this class, and in our family we meet every single night for family scriptures, family prayer, and then we have family council once a week. I'm always gathering the children together, so always talking and teaching and reading scriptures. But now my children have this little quote that they quote for me. It's like, oh, Mom must have read that in an article somewhere, because I'll always say to them, oh, today I read the greatest article and such and such, or anyways. And then one time I had my husband talk to the boys. I said, I just read this article about, boys going through puberty and having like wet dreams or having these things and not knowing what's going on. You need to go talk to the boys to make sure they're not freaked out about that and they know what's happening, okay? and so anyways, now the big joke is, make sure you don't have any urges before you read an article that Mom gave you.
Oh my gosh!
So it's so funny, but I love that it's so open. But I'm realizing, okay, instead of just saying I read it in an article somewhere, I should probably tell them, pull out the article, or say this researcher from this university did this study, or this psychologist said this, and so they know that it's not just an article in the floating in the sky somewhere. It's legit.
Yeah. Well, that's funny.
So yeah, now I get teased mercilessly about all my articles.
I do the same things sometimes. Like I'll read something and I'll post it on Facebook, and I'll be like, "Oh, I read this thing," and then I'll say it, and people are probably like,
"Where'd you get that?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Even on Facebook, it's super important.
Mhm. Yeah, that's where lies are spread, is Facebook.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So far, we've learned the importance of having the doctrine in our hearts. Why do you think it is also important to have good science in our minds and mouths? I think that lots of times when we might be debating an issue, we might be debating with someone who isn't necessarily a religious person, and they're more of a science person, and so having these facts to back it up is what's going to really touch them. It's not going to be our testimony or things like that, even though I'm sure those things will touch them, but they're going to want the facts. So I think it's important that we know those facts.
And
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even, with the doctrine, backing it up with who said it. I mean, even if they don't have a religious background, they'll still want to know who said that, and whether it's your religious leader or science. I mean, I think anything that the brethren say, if it is science related, but they're tying it into doctrine. Most of them are very educated, and they know what they're talking about, and they have a way to back it up.
Yeah, that's true. They in and of themselves are experts in their various fields, and also in the field of working with, a large group of worldwide membership of 13 million or 15 million, whatever it is. So
yeah.
And the thing that I was going to say is that truth is truth, right? Like, I mean, there isn't a separation of, okay, there's things that are more true if they're about, the atonement, or more true if they're about, how a flower is pollinated. Truth is truth. And so if you use good science, like it says, that's substantiated by research and has been discovered and is based on real, as close as we can come to some kind of truth, you use that to spread your message, because truth is truth. And whatever way, it's recognized, it's not like it's, I guess you don't really have to separate it. You do, as far as like, you're not quoting a scripture, but if you want good people to recognize truth, they'll recognize it through the Spirit, whether it's using facts or whether it's using scripture, I guess, which is fact, but.
Yeah, it's almost kind of confusing, not confusing, but that's kind of a difficult thing, because you know, we trust God before, before we trust man. And man, are the people that come up with the science facts. I mean, it's like when we're trying to back something up, we're saying that God is, is the reason why this is true. Anyway, that's kind of hard because most people that aren't religious aren't going to believe you if you just say that it's because that's what God said.
Right.
But they want to hear the science part of it, but we don't necessarily think that science is just because science says something doesn't mean that it's true necessarily.
Yeah, but it can be true.
Yeah.
Depending on, because God, of course, has revealed himself throughout the ages to men of goodwill who are genuinely seeking knowledge and seeking truth for good reasons. Of course, there's some people, of course, who aren't and are deceived and don't have the light of Christ to kind of guide their learning. But there's been so many people who have, regardless of their faith or their whatever, have been able to find great truth about the universe or about nature, or about man.
Right.
And so I think that is, but yeah, like you said, we don't separate that. Like Elder Nelson gave in his, I don't remember which talk, if it was this conference or, no, this must have been the last, but he talked about that his colleagues wanted him to separate, his faith from his medical practice, and he's like, I don't separate it. It's truth is truth,
Right.
But
I guess what it comes down to is it's hard to explain that to somebody who doesn't have a religious background.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, and I think where we see that, especially nowadays, is the moral debates we often have in our culture, especially when it comes to things like same-sex marriage and abortion. It's kind of hard to debate those on religious grounds, which is why we believe what we believe, but you're debating with people who don't believe the same way you do, and I think that's where it gets tricky. It gets hard.
They have an entirely different worldview as you do, and you're trying to debate the same issue. It's really hard to debate with someone who sees everything from a completely different perspective than you see things from.
Yeah.
And
it's hard, and I don't know. I think in 20 years, I think there will be facts to back up, same-sex marriage and things like that once, children grow up and different things. But
there hasn't been enough time for them to document how that really affects.
Right. But right now it's tricky.
But I guess the first thing I thought of was being gay, because there has been science, some scientists that have said, there are people that are born gay, that have
a gay gene.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I think that there are people that are born with more female, I don't know what they call them, hormones or whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean they're gay, I mean.
Right.
What's a gay gene?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. And then even just this whole thing with the AIDS video, was that this class, right? The AIDS video?
Yeah.
Which I completely thought was super fascinating and disturbing. The people there in those African countries are feeling pressure to change their entire culture in order to receive, because of pressure to receive funding from these rich countries. I
know. I mean, I had no idea.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
You just assume that they're so uncivilized or whatever that they need us, and that they just don't know any better.
And it's like I was talking to my mom about that video because it really struck me when that teenage boy, he said, all we have to do, abstinence, don't have sex before marriage, and he got it. And
I know.
The fact that we didn't want to help them because to us it was a human rights violation that they didn't recognize LGBT people, and I'm thinking, how much business do we do with countries like Iran or all these other countries with their human rights problems? And this was such a huge thing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of scary. The whole thing's scary. And the Common Core video was like,
Oh, yeah, that one was trippy.
all about government and money.
Yeah.
Yeah, what it came down to is all these states that signed on, they just wanted the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so desperate for money. It's like they'll just do anything.
Yeah. All right, we'll go on
Okay.
to the
Digress.
video questions. If you were to pick a side on the Common Core debate strictly based on the information from evaluating research, which would you pick and why?
On the evaluating research. So
Just that folder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I think that well, I mean, I guess I mean I would be against Common Core because I think the states should have it should be more, definitely should not be something top down. I think that education is the responsibility of the local government, and that it needs to be adapted to the local communities for which they live. It has to be individualized to the communities and the values of that community, the needs of that community. And so absolutely, and if you're trying to make things more level, I mean I'm a really big believer that education should be able to help people of all different levels, including high levels or lower levels. There should be different tracks, but help people reach their full potential, whatever that potential is. And if from what I understand about the video, because my kids don't do Common Core because we go to a charter school because I didn't like the public education, but anyways, from what I understand about it, it makes that, and then it dumbs down. I don't like the idea of anything being dumbed down.
yeah,
And they're dumbing down SATs and graduation requirements so that more people can succeed and get a soccer trophy in life. Like, no.
it's about the
A
numbers.
participation trophy.
Participation trophy.
It's about how they look. Like, it's about how the numbers look.
Yeah. It's not about people and children and individuals.
Just like they were saying, because my kids have had Common Core in their public schools, and we have some charter schools here, but my kids have done well in the schools and everything, but, when my 14-year-old brings home, well, she's doing fine in math, and so I haven't had to deal with it. But when she was in elementary school, she would bring home some math, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just like, this is so stupid. And, but I totally understand why people, send their kids to charter schools and other things, because I think I have a son that was ADD, and we had to pull him out and homeschool him for a while. And, there are kids that just don't fit the norm. I mean, there's a lot of kids that don't fit the norm.
There are.
But
and I think that is
there's nowhere for them.
Expensive. Yeah.
I mean, he just was not cut out for the regular public schools, and he did end up going back in high school, and he didn't graduate. He did get his GED, but I feel like school was just a disappointment to him. It was not a good experience, and I think that's bad, because now, I mean, he's on a mission now, and hopefully when he gets back, he'll be able to do well in college, but it's kind of scary. It's like, hopefully he'll be able to get a good education, and then it'll be a good experience for him, because, like they were saying in the video, there's so many different vocations that people can do.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just don't want to go to college, or they're just not cut out for college.
Yep.
And there's got to be other, ways for them to still love learning and, be able to get a vocation.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
It just totally makes sense to me. Like, I don't understand why.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely still be against it.
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was kind of shady, too, how it came about. It was just kind of... And the guy from the one institute where they basically wrote Common Core, so all his arguments were pro-Common Core, talking about how the states were given it, and there was public opinion, and they got like 10,000 public opinion forms back, and so the public knew about it. And I'm thinking, 10,000 out of millions? Like, that's nothing.
That's not very many. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that just his whole argument was just kind of funny to me. But I mean, Nevada is the worst state in the country, and we live in the school district that's the worst in Nevada, so we're kind of like at the bottom.
Oh, really?
But I love my kids' school, but I hate this whole idea. I don't know what they're trying to basically, like with math, I've had many discussions with my children's teachers about math, and their teachers don't really like Common Core either, but kind of change the way children think. And I'm thinking, my kids are in 3rd and 4th grade. They need to be learning their multiplication tables. They need to be learning how to divide. Like, they don't. My 3rd grader comes home with word problems, and they take 3 or 4 steps. And I'm thinking, these kids are just dying. Like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense why we don't kind of just stick to the basics and kind of like what you said, the mention of, this race that we need to beat these other countries and we need to keep up with China and different things. And I'm thinking, who cares about that? Like, we're not China.
Because when you allow people to reach their potential, and when there is capitalism, we'll always be able to compete, because when people are allowed to be reach their full potential, and they have the freedom to choose and to reach, and then there's an incentive to reach because the government isn't giving you everything. You got to fight and work for it. You will beat China. You will stay at the top. But when the government takes too much control of our lives, then we begin to be suppressed and we don't reach our full potential. And then you do have to worry about China and all these other countries passing you up. So in effort to, what they say is to rise to the top, they're actually suppressing the intelligence of our children and our future.
And I think, they kept saying that there are no facts to back up that this is actually going to work. And so it's, in essence, an experiment on all of our children.
On our children, yeah.
And if it backfires, it's going to backfire big on a whole generation.
Yep.
So
I think it's a little insane. But,
yeah, and I think it's interesting, like you said, the teachers don't even like it.
Mm-mm.
My daughter's 7th grade math teacher, she would always tell the kids, I hate Common Core, we're not doing Common Core in my class. And she would just come up, she'd just do her own thing. But,
yeah. It's just ridiculous.
Teachers are saying that. They're the ones that know because they teach our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that had the education for that. So
yeah. Well, because it's a whole new way of teaching for teachers, and they don't have time for that.
Yeah.
To learn that. Okay. Do you think that much of the Common Core curriculum ignores empirically based, developmentally appropriate practices for children? Why or why not? Yes.
I think we kind of just sort of touched on that, really. I mean, what's developmentally appropriate? I mean, and like one of the men in the video talked about is that some children are late bloomers, some are early. To any time that you don't provide for those that want to go ahead faster and those that need a little bit more help or need to be steered in a different direction, it's just, it's not developmentally appropriate, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, that's why it's called building the machine. It's just it's like an assembly line. If you don't fit the mold, then you're out.
Yeah, and I think a big thing of it is in elementary school they're just skipping all the basics. Like, they want these elementary school kids to do all these big word problems, and they're not teaching them the basics in all these different subjects, which is like the foundation of their education.
Right. Yeah. So that's not developmentally appropriate.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, yeah. We're getting
Go ahead,
Karen.
Oh, I thought I heard some echoing again, but now it's gone.
It went away, so I'll see.
What have you learned from cultural imperialism about the persuasive function of research and science in creating cultural change?
I can't remember what cultural imperialism is.
That was the AIDS video.
Oh, okay, right.
Right, where they were trying to, used to be that that Great Britain was a great imperialist country. They would go and they would, have sort of rule over a nation and subjugate them to their culture, their idealisms, and their language. And then they would just but they would receive, some of their goods and the things that they could benefit from those subjugated countries. But I think we didn't even know that this. I didn't remember this was a question. We kind of talked about it. I mean, it just, whenever you take away the culture of a people, the good things from their culture, to try to force them sort of under your thumb in order to receive your help or your benefits, and if they have to ascribe to your culture, which, whatever, I guess our culture is now that everyone, is, all ways of life are completely equal. That's imperialism, and that's how cultures disappear, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously these countries in Africa do need help, but it sounds like that president of which one, Rwanda? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They knew what their people needed the most based on their culture, and that was working for them. Abstinence, and if you must, use a condom.
Yeah. And I don't think there's a lot of research and science. Like, I think that as a culture like America, we probably told them, well, the research says this, the science says this, but ultimately, like you said, it's their culture, and they should have a right, no matter what we throw at them, because it talks about the persuasive function, and I don't care how we persuade them. I mean, they weren't doing anything wrong; they were trying to help their people, and I was so shocked by that. I had no idea.
I know.
Things like
well,
that.
And I guess I didn't really notice. Okay, so with this question about research, persuasive, was that video saying that the United States was showing our research and how we think this is better, or what? I don't get that. I don't get the question. I guess
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember them talking about in the film about any kind of research and science. I mean,
so I guess we need to apply that as just kind of apply it. But I think, okay, so when the guy from Harvard was kind of doing it from a research way. He was saying that I think that they weren't using research to really see what was helping these people. They were just going in with their ideals and not using sound research to inform their decisions about pressuring these people to change their laws, to fit our ways, I guess. So it really wasn't based on sound research. Policy needs to be based on sound research, not just, propaganda.
Right. I feel like there was a part in that video where Hillary Clinton was speaking, and she was kind of relating the whole LGBT thing to human rights.
Yes.
And there was some human rights stuff put in. I don't know.
Like you saw horns and a tail when she was speaking.
I just have to look away. Yeah. I don't remember if she used any research
and
on
gay rights are the same or something. Yeah. Wasn't she saying that?
Yeah. It was a big long thing that
I'm like, why did you even have to say gay? I mean, they're human. Right. Why do you have to separate them?
Right. And I feel like we're the ones who do that. I don't think it was the countries that were having the AIDS problem who were saying, oh, well, it's a gay problem, or, oh, well, this and that. I think to them it was just, no, our people are dying, and this is how we think it's best to fix it. It was us who was pushing this whole, gay agenda on them.
Yeah.
And then I did see on my notes some statistics, so that they did quote, the CDC says that men having sex with men is 2% of the U.S. population, but 60% of all new HIV cases. Mm-hmm. So that little piece of factual, statistic right there by the Centers for Disease Control could have informed the decision, so allowing, gay rights in these countries isn't really going to help the AIDS problem, is it? Right. That should be obvious,
Yeah. I thought that was a little bit crazy. All right. The last question is, What lessons have you learned to make you more skillful in combating your chosen topic or threat?
Well,
I think just the importance of having research. I mean, we all have topics that we feel strongly about for religious reasons, personal reasons sometimes, and so I think it's important that sometimes we have to step out of that emotional argument that we have and have the research to really back it up.
yep. Well, and then I think, I guess, because one of the things that I put on the discussion board was about a research study that was done that I felt was biased. It was about the children of gay lesbian mothers, and they sometimes they scored higher than regular children on things. And I recognize that we need to, if there's something that is important to us, I know we would be maybe considered biased, but we need to continue to do studies and research and show empirically that the principles in the proclamation do create happier, healthier families and children. And by whether we go to graduate school or whatever, or just find research that backs that up, we need to put that out there so that people can see it. Because right now, all that people are seeing is that their children are equally as benefited no matter what the family structure, as long as their parents are involved in their life or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I know I found an article that says children are better off if their parents get divorced, and she cited a study done about the importance of spending time individually with your children, and because children of divorce get to spend more time individually with their parents, and I'm just like, that's completely out of context. But
I've seen that they're better off if the parents are fighting and there's abuse or something.
Right.
Yes.
But that's totally skewed. That is so biased.
What's crazy is people are going to read these types of things and believe them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, like, oh, this will be better. Yeah, they get more time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, awesome. Anything else?
Okay.
I don't think so. Not for me.
No, I don't think so. So who did the summary last time?
You did.
I have. What? Did I do the summary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was doubting myself that I even turned it in a couple days ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I ever do?
You don't have to turn it in though.
We just do it at the end of the video.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That's why you don't remember doing it.
The video, yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, I was like, oh. Okay, so we just need to say our summary and then.
Yeah. So Kelly, go for it.
Okay. So we talked about the fact that, facts are facts, and to have a good point and make a good argument, we need to have the facts and the research to back it up. When speaking, we need to try to have exact research about how even in conference talks, the brethren, they have research to back up what they're saying, even if whether it's the scriptures or another prophet or scientific research, and to make sure that the person you're quoting is reputable. Truth is the best way to spread a message, and that gets tricky nowadays with moral debates where there's not a lot of research done, and so more research will be done on that. When we talked about Common Core, I think we all agreed that we were against it, and some of the reasons were that it's important for education to be local and to provide for the local needs of the community. It was a little bit shady how the whole Common Core thing came about. There wasn't a lot of public input, and it was all kind of hush-hush. Kids who don't fit the norm aren't going to fit into Common Core, into building the machine. And there's no facts to back up that Common Core is actually going to work. It's basically an experiment on children, not providing for students who excel or might need more help. And we're kind of just skipping the basics and trying to push things on kids that they might not be ready for. Cultural imperialism is still alive and well, and we talked about how that's how cultures disappear, when we push our beliefs and our ideals on them, and when our ideals have no sound research, that doesn't help the culture. We need to be skillful when we make arguments, whether we're writing an argument or we're speaking, we need to step out of our emotions and be able to back it up with sound research, and to continue to do studies and to report on studies we find that back up the proclamation to the family and share those with others, that research.
Awesome.
That's perfect.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Do you guys want next week? I'll start the call.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds
Awesome.
good.